What's up, y'all? Today is another day with Mother and Man. Um, I got a lot of little stuff to show you that I couldn't really do the other day. So we're gonna get into the planetary alignment for the time right now, and I'm gonna actually show y'all a couple things and show you this bootleg zodiac wheel that I made, but it's gonna be all good. So first, let's start with the wheel. And Pisces is the only thing on here that's wrong, so I'm gonna change it after I'm talking because I didn't get confused. I just forgot myself, but it might be the opposite. So where how it looks on the screen is probably the other side and back around, but these are the 12 houses, and I've put each zodiac that rules that original house. So, as you can see, the first house is ruled by Aries. This is the sign for Aries. The second house is ruled by Taurus. Third house is Gemini. Fourth house is Cancer. Fifth house is Leo. Sixth house is Virgo. The seventh house is Libra. The eighth house is Scorpio. We got Sagittarius for the ninth house, Capricorn for the 10th, Aquarius for the 11th, and Pisces for the 12th house. And I'll just quickly kind of explain what each house represents. So, in the first house of Aries, the first house is yourself. Like, the first house is about, like yourself, maybe like your self image, just you by yourself. You come in this world alone, right? The second house, Taurus, rules possessions. Um, the third house, Gemini. Gemini rules like siblings, kind of sort of your neighborhood, so like your immediate surroundings. Fourth house is Cancer. Cancer and the fourth house rules home, so your home and family life. The fifth house is like your fun, creativity, romance. Sixth house, Virgo, is your health and your day to day. The seventh house of Libra is your closest one on one relationships, like where your heart is at. Scorpio, eighth house. This is like the house of marriage, the house of your spouse's money, death, taxes. That's eighth house matters. Ninth house would be like your education, your higher wisdom. It can also be your religion. It's ninth house. 10th house is your career and status, like your outward status in the world. 11th house is, it's like organizations, and I don't know who is calling me, but 11th house is organizations and your big groups of associates. 12th house is dreams. 12th house can also represent things that are higher than you. It can represent jail. And it's also the last house. So this can kind of be a symbolism of maybe your afterlife. Because 12th house is the end. So this would be like, it's known to be associated with death as well as 8th house. But this would be the end, and Aries is the beginning. First house is the beginning. And I know I have to get like better stuff, but that's to show you where the house is at. So I'm gonna bring this back forward, and I don't even know where to place this to kind of let it be close enough. Right now, the ascendant, what time we are, like the time of the day it is, it's actually, let me just check, because it was in 29 degrees, but it's, yeah, I don't even know where it is. I think it was going into the 8th house, or going from the 8th house into the 9th, something like that, but that's neither here or there. We can start with the sun, which is in Cancer. That's the 5th house. And I'll show you the symbol for the sun. So this is the symbol for the sun. So when you see this symbol on a wheel like this, you know that this is what the symbol for the sun looks like. So let's see. Right now, the sun is in the 4th at 16 degrees. So that means that we're past halfway through Cancer season. So it's the 7th. Cancer season is over like the 20th, 21st. So that's about right. We got like 14 days left, right? Our next symbol is Mercury. And this is the symbol for Mercury. And Mercury is right behind, still in retrograde. So I know y'all always see these things about Mercury retrograde. It's retrograde at 6 degrees. So it's going backwards still, but that should stop pretty soon. I didn't do the node, so I'm gonna skip that. Matter of fact, I'm gonna actually stop switching back and forth between this. Try to just get the camera to go with the board for a second. This is the symbol for Venus. So sometimes it's like this, or you might see it on the chart like this or this. But this is the sign for Venus. And on here, Venus rules Taurus and Libra. The sun rules Cancer, and Mercury, the one I just drew, that's why it's in green, it rules Gemini and Virgo. So Venus is still in Gemini. I know that much. But just let me get in position. I hate not having my laptop. Uh, Venus is in Gemini. It's direct at 8 degrees. Oh, I skipped the moon. Sorry, y'all. This is a symbol for the moon. The moon rules Cancer, actually. Because I said the sun rules Cancer. That was my mistake. The sun rules Leo. The moon rules Cancer. So the moon right now is actually 19 degrees in Aries. I mean, not Aries, Aquarius. You need this little moon sign. Which that makes sense because we just came out of a full moon in Capricorn, the sign behind it. So the planets move this way, counterclockwise. Next we have Mars. This is the symbol for Mars. It's pretty close to how Venus symbol is. And Mars rules Aries, this first house. That's why I have it in orange. But right now it's actually at home and it's at 5 degrees. And Aries. Oh, it's hot. So let's get you some more planets. What do we have next? Jupiter. This is the symbol for Jupiter. And right now, Jupiter is retrograde in Capricorn at 23 degrees. So, and I'm probably going to delete this video because this is so uncoordinated. And that's retrograde. And we have Saturn that actually rules Capricorn. And this is the symbol just up close. Saturn is in Capricorn as well. It's retrograding. It's in the 29th degree. And not too long ago, it was in Aquarius, but it came back. So that kind of sucks for me, like I said earlier, or in one of the previous videos. It's so hard to draw like this. Okay, next after Saturn, we have Uranus. And Uranus is direct and it's in Taurus. So it's down here. And we have Neptune. Neptune rules Pisces. You see, I made a mistake and drew Neptune symbol, but let's just draw over this. This is the symbol for Pisces. And Neptune's here. Retrograding at 20 degrees. And last but not least, we have Pluto. Neptune does not rule. No, Neptune does rule that. I don't know why I put him over here, but we have Pluto, which my bootleg cover won't stick. Pluto rules Scorpio. This is a mess. I'm laughing at this point. And Pluto is in Capricorn, retrograding. So he's at 23 degrees as well with Jupiter. They're all retrograding in Capricorn. So we have to repeat a whole bunch of stuff for the last month or two again. And we also have this dude named Chiron, because I talk about Chiron and Lilith. And I don't know if I have something big enough to draw on it. But Chiron looks like and I'll spell it for you. This is the symbol for Chiron. Chiron is in Aries at 9 degrees. So and we also have Lilith. I'll show you Lilith. Lilith's like just like the moon sign. Because that's really what I have on my business card. This is Lilith. And Lilith is also in Aries at 18 degrees. So yeah, that's everything for right now. I think I skipped over a couple of rulers. Maybe. I don't know if I did or not, but that's our wheel for right now. So one thing I can explain on the wheel is that we do have usually lines that go across from where the planets are located at the time in the wheel, and the percentage of degrees between those coordinations are called aspects. And I'm not really going to get into aspects yet because I'll wait till I get digitized for that. But you can see for the most part, except for our north node and south node, and I'm going to go ahead and write that too. So and these are the nodes of the moon, so they say. These are the symbols for North Node and South Node. And y'all gotta excuse my nails. I took them off yesterday. Um, right now they're between Gemini and Sagittarius, and they're actually both retrograde. So I'm not gonna draw those just yet. But us being on kind of like that bowl motion, there's a meaning for that. And I'll get into it later. So let me see if I can just pause and then I'll come right back. No, they ain't gonna let me pause. Alright, we gonna do this ghetto today, y'all. This how it be. It's how you gotta be. I actually need my phone. So let's talk about um let's get more into what some of these planets mean and what the different zodiacs represent, so that when I interpret the chart, there's a little bit more understanding. And I'm just looking at my book because I didn't plan to do this like this. So we gonna wing it. And I don't know the name of my book right now, but so the sun. The house that the sun occupies will be strongly emphasized, and the affairs of that house are likely to be of great importance at that time. So like I said, the sun rules Leo. I know you probably haven't heard of what exalted means, but exalted means where it's the most comfortable besides being in the house of Leo. So outside of being in this fifth house, the sun is happiest in Aries, the first house, and it hates being in Aquarius. That's his detriment. Like, that's his worst, is Aquarius. Libra is its fall. So it's not the worst place it could be, but it's kind of weak there. And the keywords would be power and self-expression. So right now, Cancer, fourth house matters, is where it's at. It's in the moon's house. So right now, home and family for the next 2 weeks are going to be what's most important or emphasized or thought about. And that might be what's being expressed outwardly among all of us the most. So let's move on to the moon, which for me, moon is emotion. So the moon rules Cancer. It is happiest outside of being in Cancer in the second house of Taurus. It hates being in Capricorn, it hates being in the 10th house, and it doesn't do its best in Scorpio, which is the 8th house. Words associated with the moon are response, instinct, and fluctuation. But like I said, the moon is usually your emotional response. And right now, as we can see, it is an Aquarius. So next to the sun, the moon is the most important body in the birth chart. The characteristics of this sign it occupies form an integral parts of that time period or personality. It has a direct bearing on habits and reactions in a given environment and on a person's instinctive behavior. Characteristics inherited from past generations are related to the moon and its position. So Aquarius is a very a thinking sign. It thinks, it communicates, but it's kind of detached because it's almost at the end. And right now, um, emotions can be more cerebral or intellectual. And Aquarius is an air sign, it's fixed, it's ruled by Uranus, used to be ruled by Saturn. And a little information on Aquarius. Some of its positive traits are independence, humanitarian, willing, a progressive outlook, original, inventive, reforming spirit, faithful, loyal, idealistic, intellectually inclined. And to me, really, like Aquarius is like one of the smartest zodiacs, but they usually have some type of lack of social skills. Negative aspects of Aquarius are eccentric, rebellious, contrary, tactless, and fixed in their position. And they are a fixed sign. So fixed signs, Aquarius, 11th house, Taurus, second house, and I believe I believe Scorpio's the other fixed sign. I can't think right now. But they don't budge or really change that much. And I would probably say Aquarius would be the most fixed out of all of the fixed signs. That's in my opinion. And I think it's actually Leo. Leo, fifth house, is the other fixed sign, not Scorpio. Um, so that's the moon. That's where the moon is at. So for the next day or so, you'll have Aquarius nature things um, ruling your emotion. Mercury, which is in Cancer right now. And let's talk about Mercury. Mercury, I don't think Mercury really wants to be in Cancer. Mercury isn't necessarily masculine to me, but it just, I mean, it kind of is, but it's not the representative of the masculine sign. That would be Aries. But, your logical side is your masculine side, and your feminine side is your more instinctual and emotional side, feelings and pleasures. So Mercury is at home in Gemini, the sign behind it. Its favorite place to be outside of that is Virgo. It hates to be in Sagittarius, and it's weak in Pisces. The key word for Mercury is communication, mental and physical. Mercury moving fast like Venus, and that's true. Um, Mercury is always going to be either with the sun, right behind the sun, or right ahead of the sun. It doesn't, it moves with the sun, but it's somewhere above it or ahead. It is never going to be more than a sign behind or a sign ahead of the sun. And they refer to it as an inferior planet. Its associations, I hate that my phone is ringing, are with intellect, the brain, coordination of the nervous system, the respiratory system, mental perception, the thyroid, day-to-day travel, your car, motor scooters, bicycles, and I'll explain that Mercury rules pretty much what they said, any forms of communication. So sometimes when Mercury is retrograde, especially for people who are Mercury ruled or have a lot of their planets in signs that rule Mercury or favor Mercury, when a retrograde happens, they're not able to communicate as effectively or take in communication as efficiently as they would. Emails, contracts, money systems, text messages, cars, electricity, just anything kind of sort of intellectual that connects you. Mercury rules that, and during a retrograde, as we are still in a retrograde, you can expect that there will be issues, or expect that those things could suddenly stop working, or you could be prohibited from traveling, or anything. Anything can happen along those lines when Mercury is in retrograde. Right now it's in Cancer. Um, I mean, I think it being in Cancer and retrograding for stable, or at least wanting to be stable Mercury and thinking, it probably is like not really good for Mercury itself as the planet, because that's kind of the opposite. This is emotions and instinct. The house is in, and it's going backwards in that house, and that's the opposite of what um, something that's kind of logical wants to do. So, there's some similarities between Aquarius and Mercury, to me, in my opinion, but just doing it a different way, but still that other side of the brain. Next, we have Venus. So, like I said, Venus rules Taurus and Libra, and it's happiest in Pisces, which is the 12th house. It doesn't like to be in Aries, it doesn't like to be in the first house, and it's kind of weak in Virgo, which, kind of makes sense because you can kind of group um, Mars, Virgo, Gemini, Aquarius, kind of like all on the same thing. And if you wanted to like have a beef about feminine versus masculine, those would be the masculine, more masculine zodiacs and placements. With Venus, like they said, Venus loves Pisces. Venus likes Cancer. Venus feels good in Cancer. Um, Libra and Taurus. So those would be like the more feminine signs. And you can kind of see how you go around a wheel, and for the most part, that's all you see next to each other. More feminine, masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine, masculine. Yeah, Leo's kind of masculine too, but let's keep this off of the list. Then we skip over masculine, so let's skip Leo. Virgo will be next. So feminine, masculine, feminine again. But those are just to say the groups. There is a balance between Taurus is the more feminine of the two signs that rule Venus. Libra is more masculine because Libra likes to communicate, just as Virgo likes to communicate. Um, let's see. So, some information about Venus. Venus is associated with the power to love, the feelings, the lumbar region, throat, and kidneys. So, me being a Taurus, I have a lot of maybe my voice or allergies, but at the same time, things that come or pass through by using my throat, not like that, but singing, speaking, eating are strong suits for me as a Taurus being ruled by Venus. The throat and kidneys, the parathyroids, partnerships, the feminine influence in both sexes, possession, money, the arts, social life, beauty, adornment, clothes, and fashion. Some positive Venusian traits are the urge for harmonious partnership, a gentle, kind, and friendly manner, tactful, adept in love and the social arts, adaptable, appreciative of beauty, placid, and refined. Some negative Venus traits are lazy, gushing, indecisive, excessively romantic, weak willed, careless, impractical, dependent on others, and even could have tendencies to be like a parasite. Venus is the second inferior planet. Its orbit, like Mercury's, fall inside that of Earth. Also, like Mercury, is always close to the Sun as seen from Earth and never travels more than 48 degrees from it along the ecliptical. So, Venus can only go basically two houses above whatever sign the Sun is, behind or forward, because 48 degrees. See, a house is 30 degrees. There's only 30 degrees in each house. And a whole house would be 30, 48 would be a part of another house. So it's only going to go two forward or two behind at any given time. Venus either occupies the same sign in the birth chart as the sun or falls within two signs to the either side, which I just explained. So Venus being in Gemini right now, like I said, it's direct, so that's cool. And it's gonna be about Gemini things, which Gemini is a masculine sign. It's an air sign, so communication, and it's mutable. So mutable is changeable. It's not always fixed. Mutable can be very dualistic as well. And Venus has to kind of be more Mercury thinking and connecting on a more logical type of level because that that's what rules Gemini. Um, some of the keywords for Gemini are versatile, communication, adaptable. Some positive Gemini traits are witty and logical, busy, spontaneous, lively, talkative, amusing, a flair for writing or for language, youthful, up to date, and outlook and appearance. But negatively, they're changeable, restless, cunning, inquisitive, inconsistent, two faced, unable to control nervous energy, lives on his nerves. That's basically their nerves control them. And superficial and a gossip. So basically, think that your emotions might be acting in those manners, positive or negative, or influenced by Geminis or Gemini themes right now, Mercurial themes. And in all honesty, like, I really feel that on the negative side, Venus being in Gemini, because it's a lot of inconsistent, two-faced gossiping stuff going on. At least in my perspective, in my world. So don't let that influence your emotions for too long. Try to lean towards wherever your natal Venus is at versus where It's actually transiting right now. We'll go back. Um, I guess we have to talk about Mars. Let me explain Mars to y'all because I really don't have no problem with Mars. Like, for real. Like, without Mars, we could think all day, but Mars is the action and your energy. Mars is the part of you that protects itself. And like I said, I have a weak Mars. My Mars is in Pisces. So that's not really good for it. But like it's the only planet it rules. It used to be associated with Scorpio. It loves to be outside of Aries. It loves to be in Capricorn. It hates to be in Libra. And it's weak in Cancer. Mars is the first superior planet. Um, Mars takes about 2.5 years to travel through all the signs and remains in each sign for just over 2 months. Mars is associated with the muscular and gonads, adrenal glands, red blood, the kidneys, cuts and burns, the masculine influence in both sexes, aggression, heat, action, weapons, and sharp tools. Positive Mars traits can be decisive, freedom loving, pioneering, direct in approach, strong leader, especially in crisis, defender of the weak, strongly sexed, like a sexist, basically, positive and lively response to all situations. Negative traits are aggression, being irate, brutal, foolhardy, or foolish, basically, lacking forethought, selfish, quarrelsome, over hasty, indifferent to detail, rude, and boisterous. So, where did Mars go? Mars is in Aries. Mars is at home. So everything I said about it, Mars is gonna be all that, good or bad, like times 10. And to explain Aries, it's a fire sign and it's cardinal. Cardinal is like the initiator of action. That's how I take it. It's assertive and urgently. The myth about Mars is he was Phrixus, the son of Nepal, falsely accused of ravishing Biadis, was condemned to death but rescued by a golden ram, on whose back he escaped with his sister Hel. She became giddy and fell off, but Phrixus reached safety and sacrificed a ram to Zeus, who placed its likeness in the heavens. Years later, the ram's fleece became famous when Jason captured it. So that's like a Greek mythology story about a character that's associated with Mars. There are plenty of characters and stories that are associated with all the zodiacs throughout different points of history and time. Positive Aryan traits are pioneering, adventurous spirit, enterprising, courageous, direct in approach, highly energetic, hating restriction, Love and freedom. Negative attributes are selfish, always putting themselves first, unsubtle, impulsive, pugnacious, satirical, quick tempered, impatient, and wanting everything now. So, sounds pretty much like Mars. This is about Aries. Um, I don't know the detriment. I assume that no, I read the detriment of Mars, but that's pretty much what's going on with that. Do I want to do the rest of these inner planets? Because I'm low key tired. That's all of them, actually. I did the first four. So I might come back and come do these outer planets. I might not. Um, let's give you a quick overlook about the rest of Capricorn retrograde with all these planets here. 3. It was a whole lot here before, so that's cool, but all this control issues, government trying to control again, people trying to act controlling, all of that, like it's kind of like Corona opened up and everything was okay for a while, but now with Saturn coming back in, expect those type of things where you have restriction to try to happen again. Um, this is very slow moving, so I wouldn't keep worrying about that. Like I said, that's like a godly thing going on. And this is slow moving. So, what I've already said about Taurus and Uranus, money, breaking things down slowly over time to rebuild them to the better. And who did I miss? Where is little? Oh no, they all together. And that's pretty much it. I hope that taught somebody something. I might just have to redo this, but that's the astrology for the day. I'll come give more information about these planets, and what I might do is just split it up where I just make videos individually about each planet and give you all the information I really have on it. Because right now my mind was focused more on trying to coordinate this than what I actually know about each planet. So